Okay, guys, this is, I would say, somewhat breaking overall, but it looks like we have a little bit of an update on what's going on with the tariff situation and the Nintendo Switch 2 with pre-orders here in the US and potentially even Canada as well. Now, a little bit ago, from the time that I'm recording this video, at least, there is a 3-month pause on tariffs according to the current administration and what they're doing there with Donald Trump. So it does seem like there could be an update coming with the pre-orders of Nintendo Switch 2, because if there is a 3-month pause on all the situations with tariffs and all of that, that would give Nintendo plenty of time to assess the situation and go forward with pre-orders, as pre-orders were supposed to start today, April 9th. Like I said, the time that I'm recording this, we were supposed to be able to pre-order the systems, and that is not happening. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys a comprehensive breakdown of exactly when we're going to see pre-orders, what is happening here, and what could happen in the future. Because yes, while the tariff looming situation is gone, or paused, more like not even gone, paused for right now, what about the future? What's going to happen going forward? So let's look into it here. I do think, because of this pause 3 months so far, I think that there's going to be a deal that is done. I think that it's not over in terms of the threat when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 pricing, because that's where this can hit Nintendo the hardest. We see in other regions, in other countries, in Japan, the pre-orders, they're zooming right through them. People are pre-ordering it like crazy. They're actually pre-ordering it so much that it's breaking the Nintendo eShop overall. We're looking at Europe, different parts of there. Pre-orders are doing really well. France, UK, like pre-orders are going. People are going to want the system despite all some of the stuff that's happening and some of the prices with games. People just want to be able to play high-powered device, bam, right then and there overall. They just want to be able to play that. So I do think overall, when it comes down to it, I do think that yes, this is something that people can really look into with the Nintendo Switch 2, right? And that's what's happening so far with the pre-orders and everything. But there's still a problem with the US overall. So I do think with this pause, Nintendo's going to evaluate, or that they've been evaluating, and they're going to come back at the same exact price. And that's where people are really scared about. Would Nintendo come back at a higher price? Would Nintendo come back at a price that is, way higher or anything? Some people were thinking $50 to $100 higher, 100 more when it comes to the Mario Kart World Bundle, and another $50 more when it comes to the regular. So you're looking at a 500 standard and 550 for the Mario Kart World Bundle. Some people realistically thought that could be the case. There were other analysts that came out and stated no, they don't think that that they're going to come up with that much higher overall. But at the same time, we just don't know, right? It's just don't know. But I do think that this is definitely good news overall when it comes to this tariff situation and pre-orders, at least for now. We can breathe a sigh of relief. Now, with the high prices and everything and what's been kind of going on, Nintendo has to be able to address this at some point. Now, Doug Bowser's came out and kind of put more on a PR landmine at this point, with people saying it's like the Xbox One, which is ridiculous in my point overall, in terms of him saying, hey, look, the context of the price of the system being more, and that they still want to support the Switch 1 so people can kind of jump in when they feel like it, or jump in at some point. And we do feel that this system is going to bring more developer support, and there's going to be a ton of stuff that's happening for the system, so get it if you can. But if not, we are still going to be supporting something else. Now, people took that into the Xbox One territory, like if you don't have internet, buy a 360. I mean, which is not the same context as somebody who is a communications major, completely different, but whatever. People are wanting to spin it that way, and that's irrelevant to the actual point of the Nintendo Switch 2 system itself and the prices overall. Mario Kart World has a direct that is going down on April 17th, 2025 at 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. Eastern time. I think that that is very important, or potentially the target date that Nintendo could bring back pre-orders. Pre-orders could go live either that day or maybe even the next day, or they could announce the pre-orders are going live maybe the week after that. So we'd be going into the week of the 20th or so, or 21st. Yeah, it could be around that time. That is my best guess. So you would have a 2-week delay if it was that, and you'd have about a 1 week or so delay if they do it at the Mario Kart World Direct. And I think that would be a very strong showing. I think that is where Nintendo can really prove if this system is worth what it's worth. But I know all of you guys that are not subscribed are worth it to subscribing to the channel, because I'd love to have you guys as part of the community. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. I just got done talking to some people on Twitter and in a space about different things, and there are still some, probably not a lot, but there are still some that feel that it's not worth it because of the price jump compared to some of the other PC handhelds and stuff. But I do think if you compare it to the general and casual consumer, I do feel that many of them, if they can't afford it, they can just trade in their Nintendo Switch 1. That is still a thing. They can sell their Nintendo Switch 1. They can use the cloud saves and have it there, then boot it up on their new system, and all their digital games and backwards compatibility will work. So I do think, despite people saying that the prices are high, or maybe that they're high for the system, which I don't think the system price is that bad. I think it's the games. I do think that people will find a way. Now, yes, there are going to be some issues when it comes to an $80 game, for example, right? Or if someone does not have the cartridge for Kirby, or they don't already have the cartridge for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And yeah, if you're looking at that, that's going to be $80 complete on cartridge on the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game, or that's going to be $80 with the DLC and the graphical upgrades and the features with Kirby and the Star-Crossed Worlds, or Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus the Star-Crossed Worlds. So that's definitely going to be a tall task for people, but mainly I think people are going to buy the upgrades of those, unless you're a collector and you really want that physical cart. I do think that the bundle for Mario Kart World is going to be clutch and key for 500. I do think that people feel that if this game, Mario Kart World at this Direct, has an incredible showing, while it might not validate the $80 for it separately for many people, I think that the $50 extra from $450 would absolutely be something that people would be like, okay, this Mario Kart World game, it is worth what I'm paying right now. I'm going to get Donkey Kong and Hyrule Warriors. I'm going to get Metroid Prime. I'm going to get all these other games later, and it's going to be incredible, and it's going to be so much fun, and I cannot wait. So I think that that would be the best time to drive hype and build it, especially after some rough PR type of stuff and misinformation that people are purposely spreading, for some people malicious overall. Like, there are absolutely 100% guaranteed people that are spreading misinformation maliciously overall, and we've covered that, or I've covered it on Twitter. If you saw my page on Twitter, or if you watch my live streams, there are certain people that are doing that, but that's just what they do in order to profit off of the internet. But there are going to be people right now, even websites, that are covering misinformation, or have had to walk back or update, or really just left their articles up overall, misquotes and tweeting and kind of tweaking things around here and there in order to paint a certain way. So Nintendo needs to get out in front of that. But the one thing that you don't need to do is panic and get it done. Like, oh my God, I got to go out there and say a statement on Twitter. People are just going to twist that as well. You got to show it overall. It's not about talking, it's about showing. And before we saw the prices and everything, when it comes down to the Nintendo Switch 2, people were super hyped for the system. I think even if they announced it at $450 in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, people would have been like, okay. But once again, I think it's the price of Mario Kart. So this is an opportunity in one fell swoop to, one, clear up some information that is misinformation on the internet, two, have an incredible showing for Mario Kart World that might justify $80 for some, or justify the $500 bundle, and three, drive that hype back in the right direction when it comes to the positive momentum with the Nintendo Switch, and hype for people to pre-order it here in the US and Canada. Now, make no mistake, people are going to pre-order the system regardless. You know, even if it didn't have good PR heading into it, people are going to pre-order it, and it's going to do well. The system is not going to flop or fail. Like we see some people saying it's like Wii U, or it's going to be like this. No, it's not. It's going to be way better, because the situation with Wii U was, the problem was that people didn't know what it was. The marketing for it was really bad. Not bad PR overall, but bad marketing in terms of what is this system. Everyone kind of knows what the Switch 2 is, because people keep on talking about it. Even people who, you know, aren't interested in Nintendo's games and tell you to pirate everything and that are crazy about stuff, they are talking about it all the time. So everyone is talking about it. It is a popular topic. It is a popular discussion. The articles, the videos, everything is blowing up on the system. So people know exactly what it is, but it's about actually convincing people or so whether they want to actually get that done, or if they actually want to do something with it overall, right? Are you going to actually buy it? What's it going to take for you to get one? And I think that's where Nintendo can drive the positive momentum with this Mario Kart World Nintendo Direct that's happening. Now, a couple different things that I think that they could do in order to justify in their eyes. Now, some things that they can do in that Mario Kart World Direct to justify it is going to show like, hey, look, this game is pricier. This system is pricier. And yes, there's better visuals. You can see that. We have a day-night system. We have weather effects. We have all this cool stuff that's never been really prevalent in a Mario Kart game to affect everything. But also, we have this extra content that's going to be periodically added in, almost like Splatoon. Sure, will you get paid DLC? Absolutely, Splatoon got paid DLC overall, but we're gonna have a bunch of updates with new different types of carts, new outfits, and new things for you to explore and to play without actually having any other charge. Now, obviously that'd be tough going off of what Nintendo has to say here overall, but at the same time, you know, I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, Nintendo does something like that. So I would really hope overall, I would really hope that Nintendo actually has something like that, and I think that can drive the positive momentum for things going forward, and once again, justify for gamers to say, okay, I'll drop that 80 if I'm not getting the Mario Kart bundle overall, or I'll actually pay for that at the beginning, because you need that strong system seller, which I do think that it's going to be, but public perception has to be steered in the right direction. Now, if you're talking about the casual audience, a lot of them probably are just like, you know, whatever, I'll buy it if I feel like it. It doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. It's a video game system. I need to be able to afford groceries and mortgage and rent and other things. But most people will just get it when they feel like it. Like if they feel like it, if there's a game that they like, you know, if a Fire Emblem or if a Pokemon comes out or if something that they want comes out, they'll just pick it up and that will be that overall. It's really nowhere near as big as maybe some are trying to push it online, but we will see overall. That is my thoughts on the tariff situation and what Nintendo could do now that it's been paused a bit. So I'm hoping things kind of work out in the right favor overall when it comes down to it. Now, and I do want to touch on a couple other stories as well. If you missed it, it looks like the Nintendo GameCube controllers seemingly won't work outside of the Classics app. That's been something that's been kind of going around, but something that you have to realize or understand is that that seems to be the disclaimer with all of the separate apps and all the different controllers that Nintendo has done. So I do think that we have to wait and see. I think it would be very difficult for the controller to not work outside of the Classics app because you would need to be able to control the dash to get to the Classics app. So how would it recognize button inputs and all that from the dash, but not inside of a game? I think that would be difficult. Maybe Nintendo's done that before with certain controllers. Maybe they could Wii Remote or something like that, but it should be able to work with the regular games and all that. Because once again, the disclaimer was on other systems as well. They put that on all of them when it comes down to it. So just keep that in mind, you know, keep that in mind that it might still work for everything. I did see people talking about that overall, but we'll see once it comes out. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is some of the stuff with the pricing too as well. Shout outs to Kit and Krista. They've been on a roll lately with their videos and talking about Nintendo and all sorts of stuff. And they discussed some of the things when it comes to the products. And I wanted to read off what they had to say because this is also coming from like an inside source on how Nintendo prices things and marketing and the people that actually write some of the stuff that they say overall for prices and things. So let's talk about that. So this is what they had to say, quote, Nintendo products have immense value. We must always respect that immense value, Ellis said. So that's Krista, and then there's also Kit. This is why these things don't go on sale. The value is the value, and we're seriously into the concept of respect the value of what this thing is that we have made because it's very special. This isn't Ubisoft, he joked. As a Nintendo customer fan, Krista said, you're kind of conditioned to. If I want to buy this, I might as well buy this now because it's not going to go on sale. Though Yang did offer something of a vague counterpoint to the company's rigid price structure, saying, quote, well, how far are you taking this concept and how much your stuff is worth? It's Nintendo tax, Ellis agreed, arguing that from Nintendo's perspective, what we made was 60. A lot of those games that are 60 are junk. They don't have the level of Nintendo quality or polish or attention, so we need to distinguish how premium this thing is through the pricing, and you come to understand that. So yeah, Nintendo has had a long history, obviously, of not dropping the prices as other people drop prices when it comes to MSRP. Will they have sales? Sure, they will have sales, but even Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the MSRP on that, when you look at their website, is going to be full price until there's some type of discount or sale for holiday or spring or summer or something like that, something special, and it's not going to be a lot. They don't want to devalue their brand. Now, the discussion when it comes to Ubisoft is that, you know, never buy a Ubisoft game at launch because Ubisoft will discount the game, or the game will be discounted 3 months later or 2 months later. So it shows that it's not quite the same value. And that is a thing with consumers. Some consumers will already pre-program, even if the game is worth that amount. They will pre-program into their mind based off of who the developer or publisher is that that game is not worth it. That game is not worth it because I know it's going to be on sale. And I think that Nintendo ultimately does not want that to be a thing. And once again, like Krista had to say, how far are you going to go with this thing? Now you have 80 at this point. Is it going to go farther? Will this affect the sales, right? We looked at Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Well, it sold really well, 20 million units plus. That's very, very good. Clearly not up to the level of the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but there's various factors for that when it comes to the time that the system's been on the market. Obviously, Breath of the Wild was a launch title compared to Tears of the Kingdom only coming out about 2 years ago now at this point. So there's other factors too when it comes down to it. And I think that Nintendo has to navigate this one very carefully and closely, especially with these tariffs, especially with what's happening here when it comes to the inflation, the cost of living, the cost of everything is going up. So we will definitely see. I do think that the biggest thing is that people are going to be more cognizant of what they buy. I think that the high-end or high-end earners like Nintendo and Take-Two and EA and some of these people that get the top dollars, Sony, they're going to be able to thrive. But I think that sometimes the purchases for these smaller games, even though that they're cheaper, that doesn't mean that they're going to get purchased up as much. People are going to maybe save their money to get that big next game. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how GTA and other massive games are going to be priced going forward in the future with the PlayStation 6 and the next Xbox. So what do you guys think overall when it comes to everything that we talked about here? Let me know in the comment section below. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 and RPG videos right here on screen. Like this one breaking down all the latest Nintendo Switch 2 information and how Donkey Kong and Mario Kart World are going to be generational type of games for Nintendo.